pretty appropriate that we have Julie Busch here, the Director of Urban Ministries at Bay Presbyterian Church. Hi, Julie.
Good morning, Mark.
Good to talk to you, and I just want you to know, I have it from the station, that your volunteers on the phones are very busy.
That's great. That's what we hope for, because more than anything, we just want to share the passion that Bay Presbyterian Church has for the city and just encourage more people to step out in faith and just take those initial baby steps that Brian Upton talked about, to just come into the city and see the amazing things that God is doing here in the city and be a part of his incredible, amazing kingdom work here.
Now, let me kind of make this personal. Where did this start for you? Where did this passion for the city begin?
I would say my passion goes all the way to when I was a little child. I grew up in Parma, Ohio, and my dad would bring me faithfully week in and week out. We would come down to the West Side Market, and he would choose to, instead of going I-71, we would come down Ridge to Pearl to Fulton to West 41st, and we would drive through Ohio City. And I fell in love with the city, I think, then, just partly because he would expose me to it. And then also my parents had a heart for service from the time I was a young child and cultivated that into me by how they modeled it. And then I just early on started to serve myself, and when I moved back to Cleveland 13 years ago, I just knew God's call to me was to the city, and that just became clearer and clearer as I got involved at Bay Presbyterian, and I just kept putting that toe in the water, and it's been life transforming.
Now, yes, you do serve on staff at Bay Presbyterian, but you live in the city.
Yes, I do.
Tell me, what neighborhood?
Well, for the past 8 years, I've lived in the Ohio City neighborhood here on the near west side out of a sense of call that if I was to serve the poor, that I needed to live among the urban poor as well to really understand what that was all about. And most recently, I've just moved to the Cam's Corners neighborhood to kind of further the ministry opportunities, which is still a part of Cleveland, to a larger home where we hope to do some things with teen moms and their babies.
Wow. Now, you have built this database that is being used this morning, but this database, you know, only scratches the surface.
Yeah, I've had this dream for years and years to take what's out in my head, because I'm known as this networker that just loves to connect people with things in the city, and so much of it's been in my head. Well, that doesn't serve a lot of people because it's not being utilized in the way the technology can now utilize that. And a couple years ago, I was blessed to have a volunteer at Bay Presbyterian come alongside and say, let me help you create a database that ultimately we can put on the web. And it will actually be live on the web starting hopefully in January. And at this point, we've got a myriad of opportunities here of urban as well as in the suburbs, as well as nationally and internationally, as well as with campus ministry opportunities. And it'll be not only for folks from our church, but our intent is that throughout Northeast Ohio, people will be able to access it and just plug into the city and just come and join the amazing things that God is doing here.
And, you know, it's interesting that the baby steps of this are posted on our website at wcrfradio.org on the One Night on the Street website, so people can take a look at what you have accomplished so far. But if there are ministries out there that aren't on there, I know you would like them to get in touch with you.
Yes, I would love them to get in touch directly with me. At my number at the church is 440-871-1503, extension 146. That gets you the most directly into me. Or you could email me at jbusch, B-U-S-C-H, at baypres.org. And I would be more than glad to sit down with you and add you to our database, because this is meant to be not just something for our church, but something that Northeast Ohio can really take advantage of.
We've given people for the last 24 hours, 26 hours or so, an opportunity to call 440-546-2255 and become a part of ministry in the city. Julie, what has it meant in your life and in the lives of the people around you at Bay Presbyterian to minister in the city? Why should they call?
Well, I think part of the reason that they should call is this is something you can do from the time you're a very young child to the time you're very old and you're not even sure how long you have to walk on this earth. And just a couple examples with that is this last Sunday we were distributing our Christmas in a shoebox, which this year we'll have about 400 shoeboxes that we redistribute to people we have relationships with in the city, and that's from children to senior citizens. And it was just so rewarding to walk into church and have actually two of our children that aren't even 8 years old passing out the shoeboxes. And they literally were walking up to people and saying, have you taken your shoebox? And so to see that kind of heart being cultivated in our children is so exciting to think about long-term what God might do through that. And one of my all-time favorite stories is one of our members, when they were 9 years old, came to the city and served a Catholic worker storefront. And her heart was so broken for the homeless and what she saw there. She came back and she sat down with me and she said, "Can I raise quarters for the homeless to see if I can buy some gloves?" Well, she was able to buy more than 50 gloves to take back into the city to actually give to those men. And she's now 15, and it's just been amazing in these last few years to see the heart that God continues to cultivate for her to serve the Lord. And then most recently, this week, we have a team going out this weekend to Elyria, to Cornerstone Among Women, to work in their thrift shop to convert it to a Christmas shop for children to come and shop for their parents. And it was one of our 92-year-old members that called me and said, "This is so exciting because there's a thrift shop where I can go and I can shop and I can actually spend my money to then support ministry." She called me the very next day and said, "I couldn't wait till Saturday. I went out there today and I was able to spend $25. And Julie, they had some really nice things, and it felt so good to be able to serve them that way as well as then be able to benefit back from it." But I think more than anything is so many of our folks go into the city initially thinking it's about how they're going to take God's light to the city. And they ultimately find out that it's about their own darkness, that God wants to bring his light in to heal them and set them free. So the power of serving in the city has been that it is so life-transforming, so liberating, so freeing, so healing for our members as they go and serve, because they get so much back more than they could ever dare to ask or imagine. As they bless others, they in turn are blessed for all of eternity. And Jeremiah 29:7 talks about seek the peace of the city. And when our folks go and realize that this is not just about what's going on in the city, but how so much of what happens in the city affects our region and affects our country, they start to have life-transforming experiences that are life-giving and life-affirming. And so I just think it's the most powerful thing you can do to really understand what it means to truly be a follower and a disciple of Jesus Christ, is to reach out and love others as Christ loved us.
Julie Busch, the Director of Urban Ministries at Bay Presbyterian Church. Julie, thank you for all you've done to make One Night on the Street a success through this database and the volunteers who are there answering the phones. And aside from urban ministry, thank you also for Bay Presbyterian partnering with us with Shoes for Orphan Souls every year. As we talk about ministry overseas, we appreciate our partnership with Bay Press.
Well, we appreciate everything that WCRF is doing to also do God's kingdom work here in the city and all to the ends of the earth.
Thanks, Julie. 8:10 on WCRF, and the theme song now as you go to the phones for One Night on the Street. The phone number is 440-546-2255. Listen to the message sung by Derek Webb.